UFC Rio going down this Saturday. We got Charles do Bronx Oliveira taking on Mateus Gamrot. And I'm going to be breaking down this entire fight card and giving you guys my best tips, picks, and predictions. I know it's been a minute since I've been on YouTube, but
How you horrors doing today? I ain't want none. I just kind of tell you I was back, bitch.
so you know what the fuck is going on, my parlay politicians. Without further ado, let's get into breaking down this fight card with the first fight of the night. First fight of the night, we got two Brazilians taking on each other. We got Luan Lacerda taking on Simon Oliveira. Now, Luan Lacerda, 12-3 in his professional career, coming off back-to-back losses, being knocked out to Damon Blackshear 2 years and 4 months ago and losing a unanimous decision to Cody Stamann. Before that, beats Marceli Alves in the LFA, beats Tehran Pedro, beats Wellington Lopez as well. Now, Simon Oliveira, 3 fight skid for him, 18-6 in his professional career, coming off that devastating knockout to David Martinez, coming off that other knockout to Daniel Marcos, and losing a unanimous decision to Tony Gravely. But before that, beat Jose Alday on the Contender Series and beat somebody with a front choke in another promotion I'm not even familiar with. Now, what we know about the last fight that Simon Oliveira had, he'll come forward with pressure, he'll swing big, he'll do some spinning shit, but he will eventually get knocked out if he gets caught. Luan Lacerda is better on the feet. Both these guys are good on the ground, so I can see the jiu-jitsu kind of canceling each other out. I feel like this fight majorly plays out on the feet, and I think Luan Lacerda has the edge. The only thing that worries me is Luan Lacerda has been out of action for almost 2.5 years, and it's not a good look to me. And although Simon Oliveira has been recently active, before that knockout that he just received to David Martinez, he had been on the sidelines for almost 3 years. So, it is what it is. Both these fighters, not the most active fighters, but I think there's more upside in Luan Lacerda. He's training at a better gym. He's the better all-around fighter. And, yeah, he throws dynamic shit. He's got good spinning attacks, got good body kicks. His kicks are really his bread and butter. And if it goes down to the ground, I can see him having a physicality advantage. He'll have the reach advantage because he's 5'7". Simon Oliveira's 5'4". Actually, Simon Oliveira has the inch reach advantage over him. But, you get my drift. Luan Lacerda is going to be the taller fighter, the bigger man in there. And I think he'll be able to get it done. Like I said, Simon Oliveira from his last fight, nothing special that blows me away whatsoever about this dude. He goes out there and he gets starched. So I don't see this fight going the distance. So if you want to play it safe, I believe one of these two fighters finishes each other, but I believe that there's more upside to Juan Lacerda. So that's the pick for the first fight of the night. Let's get on to the next one. The next fight on the card is in the women's strawweight division. We got Julia Pilastri taking on Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Julia Pilastri, 13-5 in her professional career. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is 16-9 in her professional career. Julia Pilastri coming off that loss to Lupita Godinez via decision where, she lost the first 2 rounds, and in the third round, she turned up her inner savage, really went out there and stole the third round from Lupita Godinez with just tremendous amount of pressure and will to want to win the fight. She showed that she got heart, she got dog in her, and there's no quitting her. She's a forward fighter, she throws, and she's very scrappy, scrambly. And the only thing I don't like is when she gets taken down sometimes, she'll just settle for that position. But she's going up against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who does not have incredible wrestling accolades. It's not like she's just a pressure heavy wrestler where she's going to just press Julia Pilastri up against the fence and take her down. I believe Julia Pilastri will have the edge in physicality. Karolina Kowalkiewicz has been in the UFC for a long time, fought a lot of good fighters, but she only really beats the ones who are lower level. When she goes up against the better of the echelon, she usually loses. And I'm not saying Julia Pilastri, she's up there in the upper echelon, but just the upside to Palostri. She's 27 years old, fighting 39-year-old Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and she's just gonna have the physicality advantage. She's got more dog in her. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she is there. She is there to have a fight. So it's not just gonna be her rolling over Karolina Kowalkiewicz, but I believe that she does get a unanimous decision win just by being the more aggressive fighter, walking down Karolina Kowalkiewicz, throwing more, and just out voluming her. So the first pick or the second pick of the night is Julia Palostri to get the job done. I was impressed with her last fight. Even though she didn't win, she went up against a tough poopy Lupita Godinez, and she gave her hell in the third round and the rounds prior to that. But she lost majorly because Lupita Godinez is a good wrestler that can dictate where the fight takes place, and Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she just does not have that in her repertoire. So give me Julia Palostri to get the victory via unanimous decision over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. On to the next one. The next fight on the card is in the men's heavyweight division. We got Walter Walker taking on Muhammad Usman. Walter Walker 14-1 in his professional career. Muhammad Usman 11-4 in his professional career. Walter Walker coming off 3 back-to-back heel hook submissions in the first round over Junior Tafa, Dontel Mays, and Kennedy Nzechukwu. Muhammad Usman coming off that unanimous decision win over Hamdi Abdulwahab. Before that, losing a unanimous decision to Thomas Peterson and losing a unanimous decision to Mick Parkin. Fight before that beats Jay Collier. Fight before that beats Junior Tafa. 2 bums. It is what it is. Walter Walker is going to be my pick in this fight, obviously. Muhammad Usman is just not a blow-away fighter. Every time I see him fight, it's just a boring fight. He's a little clunky on the feet. He does not have good stand-up. He has power, but his stand-up is not good whatsoever. He'll usually just use jabs to keep people at bay, throw that low leg kick, and circle around. His weakness is his grappling. You could take him down, and if you could take him down, you can have your way with him. And Walter Walker, he has that in his bag. Walter Walker's stand-up is not great either whatsoever, but Walter Walker has a clear-cut game plan here. He's going to try to get the fight down to the ground. He's going to try to either ground and pound Muhammad Usman out, or he's going to try to find a submission. And I believe that on Saturday, he finds that submission and makes Muhammad Usman tap. Walter Walker is just a better fighter all around. Muhammad Usman may be the better athlete, but when it comes down to just a better will to win, Walter Walker's dialed in. The only fight that he lost in the UFC was his debut. He didn't look the best either, but at the end of the day, he revamped himself, came back the next 3 fights, and just absolutely swept the competition. All finishes. Much more impressive than Muhammad Usman. I believe Walter Walker will get this job done. If I were you, I'd take Walter Walker via TKO or submission. No way, no other way around it. This fight does not go the distance. I don't see Muhammad Usman landing a big shot that knocks Walter Walker out, but I do see Walter Walker snatching up a limb and taking that motherfucker back to Brazil with him, or taking that bitch back to this crib with him, since they are in Brazil. On to the next fight. Walter Walker's the pick. Let's go. Next fight on the card takes place in the men's flyweight division. We got Lucas Holcha taking on Stuart Nickel. Lucas Holcha 17-2 in his professional career. Stuart Nickel 8-1 in his professional career. Both of these young prospects coming off of losses via their UFC debuts. Clayton Carpenter chokes out Lucas Holcha via rear naked choke in his debut, and Stuart Nickel gets caught by a guillotine by Jesus Aguilar. So what we know about Lucas Holcha is he's good on the feet, good stand up. He's the only thing about him is when you take him down, you can submit him, and I don't really like that for a guy who's 17-2. That's just a red flag for me. Your jiu-jitsu and your grappling game should be much better than that. But we got to take into account that Lucas Holcha is like training in the middle of the Amazon in Brazil. So who knows how good the teammates and the resources are. But he is a fun fighter to watch when he's on. So this being his second UFC fight, let's hope that he can bring some heat to the table in Brazil. He's taking on Stuart Nickel. Stuart Nickel is a pretty decent all-around fighter, good grappler for the most part. Striking's okay. He's got little power to him. I think that Lucas Holcha is going to have the edge and power and speed on the feet. I think he has more tools to win the fight if the fight takes place there. But if the fight does go down to the ground, I can see Stuart Nickel finding a finish. And if the fight stays standing, I can see Lucas Holcha finding a finish. So this is one of the few fights on the card that is an extremely toss-up match for me, because both of these fighters, from what I've seen from them last time, for them being prospects, I was pretty disappointed. Yeah, just not a good look for Lucas Holcha to go out there and get, rear naked choked out by Clayton Carpenter in the first round. Clayton Carpenter's good though. He's also on his card. We'll talk about him later. And then Stuart Nickel going out there getting guillotined by Jesus Aguilera. Jesus Aguilera, he just looked pretty decent in his last fight against I forgot who he fought, but I believe Jesus Aguilar was the underdog, and he pulled it out. Had more grit in him. Yeah, he fought Louis Gural. You know what I'm saying? And it just pretty much pieced him up the entirety of the fight. It was a good fight for Jesus Aguilar. But my pick in this fight is this fight to not go the distance. I'm too on the fence on the money line. So I believe that there will be a finish. Both these fighters are known to be finishers. Lucas Holcha can mix it up a little bit better. But yeah, I believe this fight does not go the distance. And Lucas Holcha, he will probably, because I'm gonna do a all Brazilian parlay, or I parlay all the Brazilians who I believe will win. I believe Lucas Holcha may make that. We'll see. We'll see. On to the next fight. The next fight on the card takes place in the women's bantamweight division. We got Beatrice Mesquita taking on Irina Alekseeva. Yeah, that awkward silence tells you how excited I am for this fight. Irina Alekseeva, her last fight, she looked like complete dog shit when she lost to Claudia Salgula. The fight before that loses to Melissa Mullins. Irina Alekseeva 5-3 in the UFC, by the way. Beatrice Mesquita, she's making her UFC debut. She's 5-0 professionally, and she is a Hall of Fame jiu-jitsu legend, pretty much. Both of these women's up in their late 30s, mid 30s. Irina Alekseeva 35, Beatrice Mesquita 34. Irina Alekseeva will have the height advantage. She's 5'8". Beatrice is 5'4". Both these women have the exact same reach. Beatrice is training out of American Top Team, so she has a really good squad behind her. And Alekseeva is training out of somewhere probably foreign, because she's from Russia. They call her the Russian Ronda, and she's nowhere close to the Russian Ronda. If you saw her last fight, you know how bad Irina Alekseeva is. Just put it that way. Some of the most questionable fight IQ that you can ever see in a fighter. I was highly pressed watching her fight Claudia Salgula and not knowing how to beat her when you clearly you're supposed to be the Russian Ronda and you can't even get the fight down to the ground. Come the fuck on, man. What are we doing? The pick is Beatrice Mesquita. Irina Alekseeva is trash. Beatrice Mesquita, like I said, this is her debut. So be careful on how you play this fight. This will not make the top 5 most confident picks, but I will put Beatrice Mesquita in the Brazilian parlay. Irina Alekseeva, she's just bad, man. I'm sorry. I mean, I might put her on a separate little parlay to try to see if the night starts crazy. But other than that, Beatrice Mesquita should be able to take her down to the ground and pretty much, if not sub her, win a unanimous decision. Irina Alekseeva is not good. I can't stress that enough. On to the next fight. Next fight on the card is in the men's heavyweight division. We got Vitor Petrino taking on Thomas Peterson. Vitor Petrino 12-2 in his professional career. Thomas Peterson 10-3. Vitor Petrino coming off that win over Austin Lane, where he showcased his jiu-jitsu. I believe in the second round, choked out Austin Lane. It might have even been in the first, but yeah, it looks really good at heavyweight since moving up, coming from the light heavyweight division where he lost to Anthony Smith and lost to Dustin Jacoby. I remember him losing to Anthony Smith, and I literally can't make this shit up.
How? I'm saying, talk to me, bro.
I told myself that I would never bet on Vitor Petrino again after that. and I stayed away from him on that fight against Austin Lane. Even though I'm like, I know Vitor Petrino should be able to knock Austin Lane out because Austin Lane's bad. I still stayed away from it, and Vitor Petrino actually did what he was supposed to do. Good for Vitor Petrino because yeah, you're all right. Thomas Peterson, 10-3 in his career, just came off that unanimous decision win over Dontel Mays. Gets knocked out by Shamil Gaziev before that fight. Beats Muhammad Usman the fight before that. Loses to Jamal Pogues. Yeah, come on, man. Losing to Jamal Pogues. I mean, going the distance with Usman. I mean, yeah, I mean, Usman's pretty durable. He could take a punch, but that fight was not impressive whatsoever. You feel me? Like, yeah, you clearly won, but I still remember being like, yeah, Vitor Petrino, or I remember saying that Thomas Peterson's next fight is going to be somebody pretty much harder, and he's going to probably lose. And he ended up fighting Shamil Gaziev, and what happens? Shamil Gaziev puts him away. Then he fights Dontel Mays, gets his win back, and now he's taking on Vitor Petrino, coming up to heavyweight from light heavyweight. Vitor Petrino is going to have the speed advantage. Vitor Petrino is going to have the power advantage. He's going to be the better striker on the feet. And if he can stuff the takedowns of Thomas Peterson, because that's Thomas Peterson's game, he would like to get the fight down to the ground once he realizes, like, okay, I can't really stand with this person. He'll try to clinch wrestle, clinch fuck you, press you up against the cage, drag you down. If Vitor Petrino can stay away from that, I can see Vitor Petrino winning by knockout. Either way it goes, I don't see this fight going the distance. Thomas Peterson can easily, I'm not going to say easily, but Thomas Peterson can get the fight down to the ground and overwhelm Vitor Petrino, make him gas out and get a stoppage. That's how fucking unpredictable Vitor Petrino can be. But the pick here is Vitor Petrino to win by a knockout. And if that does not happen, the best bet is for this fight to go not the distance. On to the next fight. Next fight on the card is in the men's flyweight division. We got Jafel Filo taking on Clayton Carpenter. Jafel Filo, 16-4 in his professional career. Clayton Carpenter, 8-1 in his professional career. Jafel Filo coming off that loss to Alan Nascimento. Fight before that, subs up Ode Osborne, subs up Daniel Barres, loses to Muhammad Mukayev, where he almost beat Muhammad Mukayev, literally had him in a knee bar, had his leg all type of stretched out. Don't know how Muhammad Mukayev survived that shit, but good for him. Clayton Carpenter, he's coming off that loss to Tagir Ulanbekov, where he showed grit, man. He showed that he got dog in him. And he can fight the good fight. He's all around good. He's well rounded, and he's an impressive prospect, if you would. The fight before that, like I said earlier, subs up Lucas Hocha via a fucking rear naked choke. Fight before that beats Juan Camilo Ronderos via rear naked choke as well. Beat Edgar Shirez on the Contender Series 3 years ago. So Clayton Carpenter, for only being 8-1, he is pretty durable and he is pretty tested. But I feel like Jafel Filo might hold the edge in the strength department when it goes down to the ground, because Jafel Filo is pretty strong on the ground, but at the same time, the way that he was fucking selling positions against Nascimento had me pressed.
How? How you? I'm saying how? Like, talk to me, bro.
So Jafel Filo, once he goes up against a good wrestler, good jiu-jitsu practitioner, a good grappler, if you would, he tends to do shit that gets him reversed. I clearly remember a few times in that fight against Nascimento, he's on top, and somehow he ends up on bottom. And I'm like, and at the same time, like, he's comfortable there because he's good at jujitsu. But in the eyes of the fucking referees and shit, man, you're just laying on your back, bro. Come on. His striking is okay, fundamentally sound. Clayton Carpenter, his striking is okay, fundamentally sound as well. This fight is going to be a test of who's the better guy on the ground. I see this fight going down to the ground. I feel like Jafel Filo may hold an advantage in the strength and being able to drag this fight down before Clayton Carpenter can. But Clayton Carpenter is, I feel like he's going to be more scrappier. He's not going to settle for positions. And this is where Filo tends to fuck up and end up on his back. So this fight, I can literally see it coming down to damn near a split decision. Both of these fighters are, damn near mirror matches for each other. And I honestly think that if it comes down to a split decision, Jafel Filo will get his hand raised since they are in Brazil. So always be wary of that too. But for me, the best bet for this fight is for this fight to go over 1.5 rounds. We don't really get too testy with the 2.5 unless that's under. But for that portion, we usually just say not to go the distance. But yeah, I believe this fight goes over 1.5 rounds, and this fight's so close that I can't even put Rafael Filo on the Brazilian playlist or the Brazilian parlay because Clayton Carpenter could take it. But on to the next fight. Next fight on the card is in the men's featherweight division. We got Lucas Almeida taking on Michael Aswell. Lucas Almeida 15-4 in his professional career. Michael Aswell 10-3 in his professional career. Lucas Almeida coming off that loss to Danny Silva via split decision. It was a good back and forth fight. Danny Silva just outvolumes him and wins the fight, gets his hand raised. Fight before that beats Timmy Kawamba by via unanimous decision. Loses to Andre Fili via knockout. The fight before that loses to Pat Sabatini via submission. The fight before that. Michael Aswell coming off that unanimous decision loss to Balaji. Fight before that beats Dorian Hamos and Fury. Fight before that loses a split decision to Bogdan Grad on the Contender Series. Good back and forth fight. They both went to war, and honestly, like Michael Aswell could have won that fight too. That's how close it was. Michael Aswell, he scraps. Lucas Almeida, I believe he will have the slight edge in power here, but from what I've seen from Lucas Almeida in his fights, once these fights draw out a little bit later, he slows down significantly. His tempo starts to break, and fighting a guy like Michael Aswell, who's all gas, no brakes. Michael Aswell is just in your face 24/7, and from the moment the bell starts to the moment the round ends, Michael Aswell's throwing combinations. You saw that fight with Blagioki. He's just there. Yes, he's hittable, but at the same time, he could take a punch to deliver one, and his combination and volume striking is going to supersede Lucas Almeida's here. So I believe Michael Aswell does get the job done, but Lucas Almeida is a good underdog here. He's got that power, but I can't recall the last time he's knocked somebody out. It's been a minute. It's been almost 3.5 years ago since he scored a knockout. So I don't really like that on his resume because other than that, like if you take him down to the ground, you can't have him stuck there. You saw Pat Sabatini choke him out, and he can be knocked out. Andre Fili knocked him out just a year ago. So I believe this fight kind of resembles the Danny Silva fight. I believe Michael Aswell just out volumes Lucas Almeida. And I don't believe it'll go to a split decision. I believe Michael Aswell will get it done clearly. But since it's in Brazil, it's another fight that you got to worry about because if it does go the distance, which I predict that this fight will go the distance, Lucas Almeida might get his hand raised due to judging bias. You see how this shit goes. Patchy Mix just lost his last fight, and that was the only fight that we needed for him to win for us to, cash out on our parlay. We're not even going to talk about that. Just get Patchy Mix back to PFL or, yeah, I'm sorry, because that was such a winnable fight for Patchy Mix, and Patchy Mix let me down once again. But it is what it is. So, like I said, this fight, I do see it going the distance. I believe Michael Aswell has the advantage in volume striking. He pushes a pace. And Almeida, we've seen Almeida wilt before. He'll start strong. He'll be there with you back to back. But Almeida is really a good first round fighter, to say the least. Michael Aswell will be the pick. On to the next fight. Next fight on the card takes place in the men's featherweight division. We got Ricardo Ramos taking on Khan Ofley. Ricardo Ramos 17-7 in his professional career. Khan Ofley 11-4 in his professional career. Ricardo Ramos has been in the UFC for a little minute. He's fought good names. I mean, he's fought Charles Jourdain, Julian Erosa, Josh Cooleybow, Chepe Mariscal. Chepe Mariscal being the most recent of his fights. He just fought Chepe 7 months ago, lost a unanimous decision, but stayed in the fight the entire time. Showed that he's got dog in him. He was trying to get his get back from the moment the fight started to the moment the fight ended. Ricardo Ramos is game. He scraps. He will fight. Con Ofley, on the other hand, I believe he's a Ultimate Fighter winner, Ultimate Fighter series winner. I can't remember which one. Oh no, actually, he lost, got knocked out on the finale of the Ultimate Fighter to Myron Santos. That's what it was. He got knocked out to Myron Santos and then lost the unanimous decision to Muhammad Naimov. Ricardo Ramos lost that unanimous decision. Chepe Mariscal beats Josh Cooleybow by split decision. Loses to Julian Erosa via guillotine. Julian Erosa's got some slick jiu-jitsu, so you know if you go down to that realm with him, he will put you out of there. Loses the submission to Charles Jourdain too. Charles Jourdain is a very versatile fighter, good on the feet, good on the ground. Charles Jourdain is good, and then he beats Danny Chavez via spinning back elbow. Khan Ofley loses to Muhammad Naimov, loses to Myron Santos via knockout, and then he just beats a bunch of people who are unknown as fuck on the regional scene. I believe this fight will come down to just UFC experience, and I believe Ricardo Ramos having so many years in the UFC will get the job done, get his hand raised in Brazil. This is a winnable fight for him. Khan Ofley is not very good. He's very one dimensional. All he will do is to look to get the fight down to the ground, and if he can't get the fight down to the ground, this is where he loses. Um, I don't believe this fight will go the distance either. I believe Ricardo Ramos will put Khan Ofley out via first round after stuffing a few takedowns because Khan Ofley, once he realizes he can't get the fight down to the ground, he's pretty much just a deer in headlights. He'll swing back, but Ricardo Ramos is going to have the edge in the striking by a landslide. And I believe that Ricardo Ramos gets his hand raised in Brazil over Khan Ofley. On to the next fight. Next fight on the card is in the men's heavyweight division. We got Jonathan Deniz taking on Mario Pinto. Jonathan Deniz 9-1 in his professional career. Mario Pinto 10-0 in his professional career. Jonathan Deniz coming off that unanimous decision win over Alvin Hines about 3 months ago. Fight before that, lost to a TKO when he fought Marcin Tybura. We saw that once you get Janata down to the ground, that Janata Deniz has zero ground game. He is a easy fighter to get down and just beat the fuck out of. I mean, he'll swing off his back when he realizes that he does not know the techniques to get out of position, and he will get pummeled on the ground, as we've seen from what Marcin Tybura did, which ain't aging too well either, because Marcin Tybura, I believe he just got knocked the fuck out by Ante Dillia, and Ante Dillia's UFC debut. But Ante Dillia looks like a pretty serious contender in the heavyweight division, a new guy in the UFC who has a lot of hype around him already because he's been on the scene for a minute. So, yeah, Marcin Tybura beat the fuck out of Jonathan Deniz. Just put it that way, and exposed Jonathan Deniz's weakness. Fight before getting pummeled by Jonathan Deniz, wins the unanimous decision over Carl Williams, where the UFC told Carl Williams not to wrestle. That did later come out. The UFC told Carl Williams not to wrestle if he wanted to keep his job. Fired the nigga anyway. Ain't that some shit? Anyway, the fight before that beats Austin Lane via TKO, but we won't ignore the fact that Austin Lane literally ran at Jonathan Deniz, speared him on some WWE shit, took him down and held him down for the entirety of the first round before Jonathan Deniz scored the knockout in the second round. Fight before that, he gets it onto the Contender Series, gets a nice jab, straight cross knockout, which was impressive. So we thought that when he got into the UFC, he was going to be a devastating knockout artist. But the last few fights, we saw that that's not the case. Taking on the sophomore appearance for Mario Pinto, who made his UFC debut against Austin Lane, where he TKO'd Austin Lane in a pretty clean fashion. I mean, it was a brutal TKO, or it was a brutal KO. But we ain't going to ignore the fact that Austin Lane caught him on the chin early in the fight and had him on wobbly legs for a second. We ain't gonna ignore that, bruh. We gonna look at that shit closely, and we gonna break that down. Austin Lane catches him. Mario Pinto kind of does the spaghetti dance. I even think that he kind of falls on his butt, pops right back up. Austin Lane just starts to, Austin Lane him, trying to get all over him, trying to end the fight real quick, trying to get his get back from the numerous times of being knocked the fuck out in the heavyweight division recently. Mario Pinto weathers the storm, knocks Austin Lane out in the second round, early in the second round. Clean, devastating. What Mario Pinto showed is that he's a good rangy fighter. he has good fight IQ. He doesn't just go into reckless abandonment mode and starts to sell fights. He'll compose himself and he'll wait for that shot. Jonathan Deniz, we know that Jonathan Deniz is a former glory kickboxer. So you expect Jonathan Deniz to have a slight advantage on the feet. But what we've been seeing about Jonathan Deniz lately is he's kind of gun shy. And I believe that Mario Pinto will put the combinations together a little bit better than Jonathan Deniz. Don't get me wrong, though. Jonathan Deniz should have a slight edge in power. Mario Pinto has power as well, too. But I believe that Mario Pinto is the better all-around mixed martial artist because he does have submissions on his records. He can go the distance. Jonathan Deniz can go the distance, too. But I believe that if Jonathan Deniz becomes too much for Mario Pinto on the feet, that Mario Pinto will take Jonathan Deniz down and he will score a TKO or a submission. So my pick here, the the most logical pick for me is that the fight does not go the distance. But the playmaker pick, I would pick Mario Pinto via TKO or sub. So that's going to be the pick for this fight to not go the distance, or Mario Pinto to knock Jonathan Deniz out or find the submission. I just believe that he has more upside right now. Jonathan Deniz is kind of one dimensional, and Mario Pinto, being a younger fighter, should be able to be smart enough to exploit that. So that's the pick. On to the next one. The next fight on the card. Man, before I even start, I just want to know.
Just why, bro? Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why, because I want to know why. On some real shit, I'm not even playing no more.
Who the fuck did Vicente Luque piss off for them to be like, yeah, you want to fight in Brazil? All right, we going to give you Joel Alvarez. Bruh, what the fuck did Vicente Luque do? Oh my God. All right, the next fight taking place is in the men's welterweight division. We got Vicente Luque taking on Joel Alvarez. Vicente Luque, 23-11 in his professional career. Joel Alvarez, 22-3 in his professional career. Vicente Luque coming off that devastating loss to Kevin Holland, where Kevin Holland fucked him up and then subbed him up. Fight before that, fraud check Stemba Garimbo. Fight before that, gets knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. Fight before that, beats RDA via unanimous decision. And fight before that is where he gets his brain bleed from fighting Jeff Neal. Now he's taking on Joel Alvarez, man. Joel Alvarez coming off that flying knee knockout over Drakkar Klose. That he fucked up Elvis Brenner, put it that way. Subs up Mark Diakase, loses, to Armin Tsarukyan via TKO. That's Armin though. I mean, it's Armin. And then before that, knocks out Thiago Moises. Man, bro. Vicente Luque gonna die on Saturday, cuz. Vicente Luque gonna die on Saturday, cuz. Sorry about that background noise. Some shit just went off on my laptop. But Vicente Luque, man, he's not the same Vicente Luque no more. We just seen in his fight against Kevin Holland, if he gets cracked, he's gonna shell up. Joel Alvarez hits hard. Joel Alvarez was a big lightweight. That's why he moved up to welterweight. So this is his welterweight debut against Vicente Luque, a fighter that he should be able to beat. Everybody's on Joel Alvarez here, and he should be able to score a knockout over Vicente Luque. So Joel Alvarez via TKO KO is going to be the pick, but a smart pick would be for this fight to not go the distance, because there is a reality where Vicente Luque can fluke a win. Let's just put it that way. There is a reality where that can happen, but I don't think it will happen. I think that Joel Alvarez does very bad things to Vicente Luque, and I fuck with Vicente Luque, man. I fuck with bro. So once again, man, I just want to know.
Just why, bro? Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why, because I want to know why. On some real shit, I'm not even playing no more.
Yeah, Joel Alvarez is going to be the pick. Should be able to get it done by murder On to the next fight. I feel sorry for Vicente Luque, man. I really do. The next fight on the card is in the men's bantamweight division. We got Davison Figueiredo taking on Montel Jackson. Davison Figueiredo coming off that loss to Corey Sandhagen, man. Look, Davison Figueiredo has been one of my favorite fighters for a very long time. I've been real high on Davison Figueiredo. Davison Figueiredo is 24-5 in his professional career. Devon Blackshear 15-2 in his professional career. Davison Figueiredo coming off that loss to Corey Sandhagen, where he really tweaked his knee. Both of them, they're in a 50-50 position. His knees kind of tangled up across the thigh and the belly of Corey Sandhagen. Davison Figueiredo does not wilt to giving up position, so Corey Sandhagen kind of leans forward, and Davison Figueiredo's knee just tears, and the fight ends that way. And 5 months later, you're fighting Montel Jackson, bro. What the fuck is we doing here, bro? All right, the fight before that, he loses unanimous decision to Peter Yan. I picked Davison Figueiredo to win that fight. I had belief in him. I had high hopes for him. And he couldn't get the job done. Fight before that, though, beats Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera is kind of scrubby, I ain't gonna lie. Marlon Vera is just plotty forward and don't want to fight until the last fucking 30 seconds, the last minute to a 30 seconds in a 25-minute fight, 15 to 25-minute fight type shit. So Marlon Chito Vera, I'm not even going to hold that win high for, Davison Figueiredo. Fight before that beats Cody Garbrandt. I mean, it's the ghost of Cody Garbrandt at this point, man. Cody Garbrandt has not had that step, that edge, that aura for a long fucking time. Fight before that beats Rob Font, though. Rob Font, he getting up there, too. Rob Font's good at beating prospects. You feel me? Once he goes up against an established fighter, that's where Rob Font usually loses. Montel Jackson, 15-2 in the UFC, or 15-2 in his professional career, undefeated, I think he's only got 2 losses in the UFC. His only 2 losses come very early in his career in the UFC. Other than that, he's on a streak. Beat Julio Arce, beat Ronnie Yaya, beat Damon Blackshear via knockout, early knockout, and in his most recent fight, beat Daniel Marcos. Montel Jackson, great grappler, good wrestler, but we're not going to pretend like Daniel Marcos didn't take him down a few times in their fight, that last fight he had. And I was not impressed with that, man. I'm like, bro, you damn near went to the Olympic training centers to wrestle. You should have the accolades to not be able to lose a scrambling match to Daniel Marcos, who is predominantly just a striker. You feel me? So that was kind of a red flag to me. But Montel Jackson is very well-rounded, very strong, big for the division, has one-shot knockout power. Davison Figueiredo hasn't shown that one-shot knockout power in a long time, but he's a strong, very strong grappler. He's got sneaky jiu-jitsu, overpowering jiu-jitsu. But we just seen him take on Corey Sandhagen, where on the ground he just looked sloppy. I don't know what the fuck I was watching, but Davison Figueiredo couldn't get it going. He's just getting up there in age, man. He's been through some fucking wars. Been the flyweight champion before. Now he's moved up to bantamweight. He's had some success early on, and then he's recently ran into hurdles with Peter Yan and Corey Sandhagen, who are 2 of the best in the fucking division right now. So we're not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's just losing. He's losing to some of the best fighters in the division and beating, some of the fighters who are kind of staples in the division, but not quite up there, will not quite be ranked in the top 5 anymore. Montel Jackson, surgeon, looking real good. He's not a prospect anymore. He's 33 years old, but everybody really treats him like he's a prospect because, he hasn't been too active. But just recently, as of late, he's had, 2 fights in the last year. So he's becoming more active because, he knows he got to go on this little streak or, Father Time catches up to everybody, just to say the least. I believe that Montel Jackson, with his good grappling, good wrestling defense, he got taken down by Daniel Marco. So that's still actually questionable. I'm not going to throw that out there. That's still very questionable. Montel Jackson, with his power and his good fight IQ, I believe that he will be able to beat Davison Figueiredo. Davison Figueiredo's only shot of winning here is via submission. So either you take Montel Jackson on the money line or you play Davison Figueiredo by sub. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy type shit. That's exactly how this fight gonna go. Montel Jackson can possibly knock Davison Figueiredo out, but I can see Davison Figueiredo, stand in the fight. But Montel can ground and pound him out too if he does some shit that he did against, Montel Jackson that he did against Corey Sandhagen. So Montel Jackson is the pick, but Davison Figueiredo can get the sub. This is a really big step up for Montel Jackson. A lot of people they forget to mention that Davison Figueiredo is a fucking flyweight legend. You feel me? So that's the pick. Don't count Figgy out, but if you count him in via submission. On to the next fight. Now, the main event of UFC Rio. We got Charles do Bronx Oliveira taking on Mateus Gamrot. Charles Oliveira, 35-11 in his professional career. Mateus Gamrot is 25-3 in his professional career. Charles Oliveira coming off that devastating knockout loss to Ilya Taporia 3 months ago. 3 months ago. First time Charles Oliveira has ever been knocked out. Fight before that, beats Michael Chandler, unanimous decision. I mean, it's fucking Michael Chandler, man. Michael Chandler sucks. I'm sorry. Michael Chandler is just not fucking good at fighting. But he could be. This thing about Michael Chandler, he could be one of the best fighters in the division, but he lacks fight IQ. He goes out there, wants to get in reckless brawls, and it never goes really in his favor. But anyway, we're not talking about Michael Chandler here. We're talking about Charles do Bronx. Fight before beating Chandler, loses a split decision to Armin Sarukian. That was a very good fight. Charles Oliveira had Armin Sarukian in compromised positions a few times in that fight. Had him in a pretty tight Darce choke at one point. I mean, that Darce choke was super tight. And then so it went from a guillotine to a Darce. He had a guillotine, it was a mounted guillotine, and then Armin Sarukian ends up on top. And yeah, he pretty much had Armin Sarukian ass naked in there. His shorts was coming off and everything. Like, he had a tight guillotine, but Armin Sarukian just powered through it, stayed in there, kept tough. I don't know how, because that choke was super deep once he transitioned to a anaconda. Yeah. Yeah, I mean a Darce. When he transitioned to a Darce, it was even deeper. Fight before that, loses to Islam Makhachev via arm triangle. I mean, Charles Oliveira's fought the who's who of the division. Charles Oliveira's got great stand up. Charles Oliveira is very good on the ground, but sometimes he just settles for position. You feel me? Like, he just settles for position. And in this fight, that may be okay because Mateus Gamrot, 25-3 in his career, coming off that win over Ludwig Klein, where he showed that, yeah, he'll get the fight down to the ground, but he doesn't do much down there. There's not devastating ground and pound. There's not threatening real submissions. Like, he really just, he'll hold you, he'll grab you, he'll get you down, and he'll just like continue to frantically scramble. Instead of like securing position, he feels like he has to constantly adjust. So I can see Charles Oliveira taking advantage of that, maybe sweeping him some way. I just don't think that Mateus Gamrot is just going to have his way on the ground with Charles Oliveira here. And I believe this fight predominantly is going to take place with Charles Oliveira having to defend takedowns, but Charles Oliveira outstriking Mateus Gamrot, even hurting Mateus Gamrot. We've seen Mateus Gamrot hurt in several of his fights. The fight where he fought against Dan Hooker, where he lost, Dan Hooker had him hurt a few times in that fight. And even though I scored the fight for Mateus Gamrot, I wasn't mad that they gave Dan Hooker the split decision because Mateus Gamrot just, he looked very, very boring, if you would. Yeah. So Mateus Gamrot's thing is like he likes to go out there and he just wants to get the fight down to the ground and just he wants to imitate what Marab does, but it's nowhere near as successful. Yes, he's a good wrestler. Like if you saw that fight between him and Armin Sarukian, that was one of the most high level grappling matches that you will ever see in the UFC. And he edges out a split decision over Armin Sarukian, where he was gifted that split decision. I scored the fight for Armin Sarukian. Armin Sarukian just did a little more and had a little bit more success than Mateusz Gamrot, but they gave the fight to Gamrot. It is what it is. Taking on Charles do Bronx still, and I've seen you hurt a few times by, Dan Hookers and shit like that. And Charles Oliveira has very good striking. And if you take him down to the ground, he's a very big threat in the submission department. I believe in this fight, I want to say Charles Oliveira gets it done, but there's a part of me that says Mateusz Gamrot just crotch sniffs him the entire fight and, just wins a boring unanimous decision in that department. But I don't see it even going to a unanimous decision. If it goes to a decision, I can see it being kind of like the Charles Oliveira and the Armin Sarukian fight playing out, or the Armin Sarukian and Mateusz Gamrot fight playing out, a split decision. You feel me? And since they're in Rio, I could see them giving my boy Charlie O the dub there. So I'm picking Charles Oliveira, man. I'm picking Charles Oliveira. Mateusz Gamrot, he's not known for devastating knockouts. He's not known to really fucking just wrap you up with submissions and control you on the ground to where you can't. He just imposes your will, or he imposes his will on you. He doesn't do that, man. And Charles Oliveira, he's got more upside. He's got more ways to win on the feet. And if it does go down to the ground, he's got more ways to win there. So that's my pick. And without further ado, let me give you guys my top 5 picks of this fight card. And if you want the Brazilian parlay, you just gonna have to be in the Parlay Politics group on Facebook to get that. But yeah, let's get it. Let's get on to it. All right, my top 5 picks for UFC Rio. Let's see. Let me get Julia Pilastri. She got more dog in her. She's got more will to win against a aging Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Give me Walter Walker, who will be able to beat the flat-footed, clunky Muhammad Usman. He'll be able to get the fight down to the ground, TKO or sub. Let me get the Vitor Petrino and Thomas Peterson fight to not go the distance. That's what that red arrow pointing down means. If you see a blue arrow pointing up, that means that fight can go over. Let me get Joel Alvarez to beat Vicente Luque by murder in Brazil. Vicente Luque's home place, and Alvarez, I believe he's like from Peru. Anyway, and let me get Damon Blackshear to beat Davison Figueiredo. I just believe that Davison Figueiredo's past his time. Damon Blackshear is on the come up, and I believe that Damon Blackshear gets his hand raised in Brazil. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry I've been away for so long, but I'm back. So
this is how we win. We game plan, we use our fight IQ, and we beat motherfuckers up. Anyone else got any questions?